You're listening to the Unreasonable Fridays Podcast Network.
This is an official spoiler warning. The cold open for the show will be a hard spoiler for Plague Tale Requiem. The official time the show will start is 17 minutes and 55 seconds. Or if you want to round up, you go to 18 minutes and the show will start, and you will have skipped the major spoilers about Plague Tale Requiem. Thank you, guys. I don't want to talk about Plague Tale without somebody who's played it, because nobody. It's funny because either it's a game that's so the narrative and the ending are so deeply traumatizing that everyone who played it doesn't want to talk about it. So you don't know who played it. A lot of people did. Like, it was up there. It was like up there for the Game of the Year awards and that Game of the Year show that people watch. People were watching it. But everyone who finished it is so broken that nobody went online and was like, "Hey y'all, did you play Plague Tale Requiem?" No. Like, every once in a while it'll come up and then somebody will be like, "Yeah, I played it," and then somebody else will be like, "Yeah, I played it too. I didn't like that ending," and they'll be like, "Yeah," and that'll be the end of the conversation. And every time it comes up, everyone's like, "I didn't like that ending." So my issue with it is like, how do I put it? I had to come up with words for it, because on its face it just seems like a dark ending, but it's not. How do I put it? It's the betrayal of storytelling conceits. So if you don't have a swashbuckling adventure that ends darkly, typically, usually the more buckles that are swashed, it means it's more likely the story is going to end well or reasonably, because you're kind of trivializing the dark possible outcome for the sake of adventure. And usually things that have bad endings have a certain ceiling to how much adventure there is in them, because the ending might be bad. It's what makes the good horror movie so good, where the main character gets sucked into a toilet by Freddy Krueger, is because there was a possibility of the character being sucked into a toilet by Freddy Krueger the whole movie, and there was no adventure. There was no LOL, Freddy Krueger's around shenanigans. There were no chase sequences. No one fought a giant whale or anything insane. It was like, no, we're deeply concerned about Freddy Krueger. Oh wait, my mom's been abducted by Freddy Krueger. Silent credits. Right. Plague Tale Requiem has more adventure in it than Uncharted. Thousands of people die. So, you know about Plague Tale Requiem? The character Hugo, the little kid that controls the rats. He essentially has control over the apocalypse in the end of days.
You will have to explain the game and the premise to me.
Okay, so it's I forgot time period. I guess you could say it's a retconning. So the bubonic plague wasn't a plague caused by disease. It was caused by rats. There is a primordial force that imbues one person with the ability to control an army of rats and everything an army of rats would bring. So this little boy named Hugo, genetic descendant of the last person. It's chosen. I think it's the genetic descendant or something. And he has the mark, and he essentially has this burgeoning connection with this primordial force, and it manifests itself in this ability to generate an army of rats that cause disease, straight up eat people in the cover of darkness. Unless you have light, the rats will overtake you. Thousands upon hundreds of millions of rats. And the first game outlined this. In the second game, the amount his power is growing so exponentially that whenever something goes wrong with him, whenever things go south, whole cities are destroyed, under a literal ocean of rats that eat the land out from under it, collapse all the buildings, kill all the people, cause all the disease. This happens 3 times. You go to 3 cities and you destroy all 3. And they're literal tidal wave of rats while your little brother is going through it. And you can't. It happens 3 times. Every time there's like this Uncharted style chase sequence where you're like running and it's terrifying and it's full of adventure. And about, my guess would be, given the population of those 3 cities, I'd say about 4,000 people are killed in that game, in the second game. Just straight up off the strength of your brother losing control of his end of days power. And you do a lot of adventuring. There's a lot of character building. You meet a very broad cast of characters. There's a lot of growth, a lot of joking about. Around there are about 3 false starts in the game where you think the game is going to end and it doesn't. And in the third one, your brother thinks that you died wholesale. So your brother, like, full on is like, fuck it, I'm going to give myself to the darkness. And you have to, like, get to, like, literally the center. Like, there is, like, now a black, like, orb in the center of another country that was destroyed. Another country that was destroyed. And your brother's in the center of it. And you have to get it's this literal ocean of rats. Like, literally, they're like, towards the end, they're like cascading out from the dark bubble like water. Like, you have to literally get behind cover and they smash up against you like ocean waves. And at the end of it, your brother, like, an apparition of your brother explains that he fucked up because he thought you were dead and he cannot be redeemed. And you go to the center of it because, you know, you're the only person that could, because your brother would allow you to do it because you're his sister. And you kill him. That's it. After 2 games, 4,000 deaths, across the ocean, multiple continents, 4 cities, you fail. You fail. A 15, 16-hour long adventure game, running from my life, building my character. I killed so many niggas. My character is going through it. Amicia has the most well-realized mental breakdown due to being the main character of a game where you kill people I've ever seen. Ever. She does not handle the killing of every person in the room well. And she's trying to protect her brother, but she's not okay with killing all these people. But her brother needs to be safe, but no one knows how to do it. And she's becoming obsessive. And you see the history of the last time the person did this. They also had a protector that also became obsessive. And that was how the world ended before, because something happened to the protector. And then the little kid was like, well, fuck this. Ruined everything, blew everything up, had to get buried like hundreds of miles underground. You find the kid, all that shit. You learn about the history of this. And at the end of it, you have to kill your brother. Just full stop. Slingshot to the forehead. And
no.
Right. 2 games, 25 hours, 4,000 deaths, 4 cities, cross country, boat trip, adventuring, and I say it's a betrayal of all the adventure you go on in the game. It's not a dark, intimate game. It's like Uncharted until it's not, right at the end. And it's like if Infinity War was the last Marvel movie they ever made. They stopped. Like, what if at the end Thanos won? They snapped half the people out of existence, and they stopped making Marvel movies, and he never made another one. It's like, it's not a bad ending for a story that doesn't have 10 years of adventure preceding it. Just straight up heartwarming adventure. Done. And I think it's a betrayal of storytelling conceit. I think it's a betrayal of that. Like, that's what makes it so hard. It's not that the story is dark, because we've seen those before. It's that it leads you on an adventure that leads you to believe that there would be a solution, to the point where it's a whole big adventure. And it's funny because, so I was thinking in from the first Plague Tale game to the last Plague Tale game, the first Plague Tale game is very intimate, very, very intimate. And then towards the end, when you start using your rat power, apparently like the evil Pope, don't ask, takes some of your brother's blood and gets a little bit of his power. So then at the end, it's like literally like this rat horde battle you're having with like the evil Pope. Again, don't ask, absolutely fucking batshit. But then the game holds this tone of being anime style batshit straight through to the second one, all the way through to an 18-hour long adventure with all this nonsense. And then at the end, it rips it back down to the original intimate tone right at the end, where your brother's like, can't save me, gotta kill me. There's nothing else you can do. And it's so rough to have gone through that whole journey that nobody wants to talk about it. A lot of people played it. No one says shit. It is the worst ending I have ever encountered. out of anything I've ever
I
played.
was gonna say, I was about to say this rivals the Mass Effect 3 ending.
Right. It's the worst ending, and it's so bad.
It is like a betrayal of its own storytelling.
Yes. And they said, if this is what you were going to do, then please don't let me adventure. Don't let me meet a cast of colorful characters. I don't want to get a big sister and a little brother. I don't want to keep playing these fucking hide and seek games with my little brother. I don't. You do that like 5 times where your little brother's like, all right, we're going to do okay. And you're playing with him and everything and whatever. You're running around the countryside and you're like, all right, this might be bad. Might be good. It's not good. And again, there's no solution. So you did all that for quite literally nothing. And it's such a betrayal.
And there's like nothing to like hold your hand at the end.
No. They move on. Like the ending, the after credit scene is a modern day hospital in France where another baby has a little marking of the thing. So it's like they moved on. Like that's the end of the story. Like the next Plague Tale will be like in 2000 whatever year past this year. So they moved on. That's the end of the original Plague Tale, Amicia and Hugo de Rune. That's their story. And it's so rough that nobody likes it.
Why would you do all of that
for nothing? Nothing.
What's the point?
Right. That is the general consensus.
Just to make you depressed?
Yes, it was so dark. I uninstalled the game. And I'm not the only one, and that is usually the responses. People were like, this game is so good, but the ending is so bad, I don't want to talk about it. That's why it's taken me so long. I finished the game a week after it came out in like October. It's May 2023, and I'm finally talking about it. I finished that game. That game came out in October.
Yeah, I think
What?
I think you've mentioned it a few times, like briefly, but never in depth. You're just like, I've got words about. Plague Tale. Just like I'm not ready for the plague. I was like, I've got stuff on Plague Tale. I'm not ready. Like that's basically what it's been since October. You're just like, I don't want to. Just like, and I'm like, I get it. I understand. It's deeply unsettling for no reason.
And like I said, I don't think. And the thing about it is I don't think the game and the story could have had a good ending where like Hugo is fine. Clearly not. It's like by the time like the enormity of what you're dealing with is made clear to you. So it's like the ending won't be good. But I'm hoping, my thing was, if we can find a way to get Hugo isolated, that's all. Like that's the narrative, right? If we can get him to some place where he's not around all these people trying to pull at him. If he's around a little bit less people, we'll just vibe out a little bit in the mountains for a little bit. He'll know that he's not for people. Like someone with a severe social anxiety, he knows he's not for crowds. He lays low. And that would be the thing. We figure out how to navigate it while he's alive, while he gets older and stuff. Like he's going to have to live in isolation. But the story was that the previous kid with the mark, I think the mark of the macula or something like that, they buried him deep underground and kept him chained up. So he lost his shit because they took away his big sister, his protector, locked him down at the bottom of a chamber, and then isolated him in darkness when he made the deal with the priest. Was like, fuck it, do what you have to. And that was what caused all the
like
problems.
why would you not do it? Like why would you not? How would that not be your response?
Right, all hope is lost.
I don't know what people were thinking.
Right. So the order existed, and they were going to try and do that again, and then we kind of fought back, and then there was a big schmoz, and again, the city was
that would totally work. Like this person can summon rats, so let's like chain them underground and have them in the dark where they're absolutely going to summon rats.
Literally, he had nothing.
Like rats, there's not a multitude of rats that can chew through literally anything.
Right. So they kept him locked underground, in a complete darkness, devoid of hope and love. So yes, the worst thing happened. Yes. So again, I figured that the goal was we were going to find something that's not isolating this child in the dark with just himself and his greatest fears realized. I was hoping we could do that. Maybe a nice mountain with some flowers, lots of family around, people cycling in and out. Hey, Hugo, what's going on? We can get, maybe put him in maybe have him live in a black neighborhood where the black people be like, hey, it's Hugo. You know what I mean? Maybe he'll come by the local.
Not have him in a black neighborhood.
Listen, if any group of people could take care of this white kid that could end the world, it'd be a bunch of fucking black people. Just in the hood. That's just white boy Hugo. Don't get him mad. That's it. We follow rules. We have community. We don't have these problems. We're not trying to control the power. We're not trying to rile this kid up for funsies. That's white boy Hugo. He apparently can destroy the planet. He's cool. That's it. You might have
just don't get him mad. Just don't get him mad.
Don't get him mad. So, but yeah, the fact that you just outright have to kill him and there's no alternative. Like even if you don't, like if you really hesitate, because there's like a really long moment where your character it's like you do the basic attack, but it's so drawn out because she does not want to do it. So you hold that trigger and you can see like the cursor slowly centering, and then you pull the thing and she doesn't want to do it, so you have to like press the right trigger to make her do it. And if you don't do it, then your homeboy who's with you, he crossbows him. Yeah, no matter what happens, Hugo doesn't make it. And it's so bad. And it's so awful. And it is the worst ending I have ever encountered in anything I have ever played. Precisely for the reason that like I said, it's like if Infinity War was the last Marvel movie ever made, they stopped. Thanos not only won, but silent credits were the last interaction we had with Marvel characters on film. Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther, the things we like, just stopped in the middle of it. So yeah, it took me 6 months to finally get the courage to talk about that. Also a request, I think Abby brought it up. I had posted that they put the performance mode in, so the game was finally running at 60 frames a second, like all games should in this generation. And I was like, cool. And then Abby was like, that ending sucks, which is the usual response to Plague Tale 2. What the fuck is that ending? Ah! And then they swoon and pass out. Same, So yeah, that's that. We do have like a show though. We need to do like a proper show. Go ahead, stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Welcome to another episode of ADD Space. I'm your host, Aaron Ren Freeman, but with me, the actual host, the CEO, the CFO, the owner, proprietor, social media manager, lead artist, head therapist, travel czar, Elise Bacon. How are you?
Hello, I'm here. I exist. I'm conscious.
That's a win.
I think.
I mean, it's funny. I'm at the point now where if there was some big reveal that this was a simulation or someone's dream or whatever, I wouldn't flinch. Like, what would I do? Like, all right. Okay.
I mean, like, whatever. I mean, we're in the we're still in the dark times, but everybody is walking around like it's not. So yes. Who knows what's happening?
We are in the we're in a very. Did you ever see the original Mad Max movie, like the very original Australian one?
Yeah, I'm a Mad Max fan.
Okay, so you see how it was like about the origins of society as it was collapsing before it became Mad Max. That's where we're at, where it's like everyone's trying to act like it's fine, and when you scratch the surface at all, it's just crazed gunmen everywhere fighting over gasoline and resources. And it just doesn't take much for it to go south at all. And we're in that nice pocket right there where we're extremely feral and not handling our attempt to bury the trauma of 3 years of pandemic. We're not handling it well. So yeah, if this is someone's consciousness, and you have if you're hearing this consciousness, wake up. Even if it bleeps us out of existence, it's like you've been asleep too long. Your phenomenal cosmic dream powers, you've been asleep too long. Wake up, have some food, a glass of water, some nice like gluten-free pancakes and some bacon. Like really, enjoy your morning, go for a walk, check the news, and then go back to sleep and try this again, please. Just if you hear me, it's fucked. Wake up. All right, what else? What else do we have? We have house cleaning. We have a Patreon, which is getting a surprising amount of traction for how inconsistently we put out content, which I appreciate. The people who have really latched on to the brand of absolute life related chaos. So thank you guys.
Yes, no, seriously, thank you. Like we are actively working to get on the ball. We're just, working around burnout and chronic illness.
It's the worst.
Those are two things that don't really go away.
So I released my job. Full disclosure, I used to work QA for Activision. I actually was working on the last Call of Duty that came out for the year or so before it came out. So that was what I was doing. That's why I was like hesitant to talk about it on the air as all types of stuff. And I'm still not gonna talk shit because I don't want to. But that's what I was doing.
Even though it's legal now, by the way.
Well,
it is legal now.
It will come up. It will come up naturally because Activision is problematic to say the least. But yeah, that's what I did, and it had me working weird hours. That terrible chunk of time where you can't do anything in the morning, but you can't do anything in the evening. So I was like 12. I was like 11 to 8, and Central, which meant that I could not do anything. And then by the time I could do something West Coast time, but then I'd be out of sorts. And now that I released this job, and now I am taking a month to myself, I'm now like just tired in the evenings on replay. And now I have to kind of catch Bacon because now Bacon is kind of randomly asleep, and I'm trying to make sense, kind of catch the wave. So
I think I talked about it like last episode where like I'm on like the new medication, which is like really really great. Like they dropped them, so like the medication is it's helping with the chronic pain, specifically the chronic pain. Now the bad thing about that is I'm losing my indicator for when I'm having fatigue crashes because I was using the pain as an indicator for my fatigue crashes and not anything. So now I have to figure out a new indicator for my fatigue crashes because I don't know what it is anymore. But it makes me sleep like 10 to 15 hours. And the fatigue also makes me sleep a lot. Like if I'm having a fatigue crash. So like people be like, what time are you going to be up? And I'm like, I will be awake at 6. I don't know for how long. I don't know when I'm gonna be taking like a spontaneous nap through the day that like because my body will be all of a sudden like, you silly hoe, go lay the fuck down. And I'm like, I'm laying the fuck down. And then 5 hours later.
Right.
So I don't know what time I'm awake. And it's like, like some folks who don't understand how all of this works very well have been like, oh, well, it's just because you're unemployed, etc. You don't like have to do, you have a flexible schedule so you can do anything like at any time of day. And I'm like, no, that's not why.
Right.
I just don't know what's going to happen. Because like, even when I was working, what would happen is like, I would just fall asleep, like sitting at my desk, like just out. I mean, like the unfortunate side effect of growing up in a church environment means I can sleep sitting up. I can fall asleep anywhere.
I've lost that
ability. If you can fall asleep in a church, if you can fall asleep in a wooden church pew, you can fall asleep anywhere.
I've lost the ability. How do you fall asleep with your head straight? Because I have a head bob now. I have a massive fucking skull, but also I have head bob.
So it depends. Sometimes I head bob and like my head will snap back.
Yes.
And the snap back is what wakes me up.
Yes.
But other times, like there's like a head tilt, like about right here.
Let me try it. Hold on.
Yeah. Just so sit up with your head straight and just tilt it slightly back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how you don't head bob. it just it just stays perched there like you're balancing, like, you know when you balance a spoon?
We might need to. I mean, that might be the moral of the show. Like, we need to find some like a visual indicator of how to be able to do that. But
Well, it's really like when I'm asleep and I'm tired and I'm sleepy, my body wants to keep me asleep, whatever that means. So it'll find a way for me to sleep uninterrupted. And that might mean if somebody asks me a question, I respond. And I have no idea later. My subconscious is just like, fuck off, this bitch is sleeping. I've had full conversations with people like come to interrupt me and they're just like, hey, I need to know XYZ. I will answer correctly. And they'll be like, oh, we had a whole conversation about it. And I'm like, excuse me? I was dead asleep. And they're like, no, you weren't. And I'm like, I promise you I was. There's not a lick in me that was conscious. It's very much no, we are sleeping. This is the sleep time. Go away. Things I learned from church. My best friend in the whole wide world jumped into my Final Fantasy 14 Discord the other day because he's also a 14 player.
right.
And I promised him that if he played the game with me, he would never want for gear because I will make all of his gear.
That's really beautiful.
He will be always up to date because I will always make his shit or buy it for him. I will be his 14 glucose guardian. And so he comes in there and he's just like baking I'm on the drugs again. And I'm like, oh, which ones? I'm like, are you like a new kind of weed or something? He's like, I'm back on Final Fantasy 11. I'm like, oh. He's like, yeah, I found a private server. And I'm like, okay. So he's telling me about it. And I'm just like, okay, how do you do this? Because I know why you're here. So let me just not even pretend to go through the motions. Let me just give me the information as to how I can play Final Fantasy 11 with you on this private server. And what am I doing? I'm playing Final Fantasy 11 on this private server. Now, the funnier part about this is when I was first playing Final Fantasy 11, he had been playing it since basically the inception of Final Fantasy 11, and it was like 2008 for me.
Right.
2008, 2009. And it was 2009. So like he just dragged my ass all across Vanadil. And yeah, just dragged my ass all the way across Vanadil and then just like was like, okay, so if you want to unlock this, you have to go here. If you want to unlock this, we're going here. And he'd be like, okay, so I need you we're going to get you this weapon. In order to get this weapon, what I'm going to do is you're going to attack this and I'm just going to heal you. And I'm like, okay. Like I didn't even know what we were doing. And he's having me attack like notorious monsters, which are basically giant things that'll kill you solo, but he was max level. And so like he dragged me all around the game and I was max level in 2 months. And had all my sub jobs and was working on other stuff. And so with the private server, you can't really quite do that. So like I'm having to like go around through stuff and I'm like, I don't remember any of this. But I didn't do any of it. So I'm just like, I sort of know what I'm doing.
I didn't even know private servers were possible in Final Fantasy
11. It's because the reason it's possible is because they a couple of years ago dropped support for the North American servers entirely. They're just so you can only play 11 on a Final Fantasy server on a private server. But like Squeenix knows about this.
Oh, okay. So they're not gonna descend on it
like
Nintendo
it's not like they don't know about it. So like there's actually like rules and stuff that you like if you run private servers like that you have to follow.
Right.
Otherwise you're not doing it like legally. But they're actually like running these private servers like above ground. Like these are all like totally legal. All the plugins, and because it's not supported anymore and it's on the US and it's a private server, like you can do plugins and add-ons and it doesn't matter. So like, but like they have it to where like you can't dual box. Like that's a regulation that like you cannot dual box.
Hold on, what is dual
So
boxing?
like you can't. Dual boxing is when you have 2 accounts and you're power leveling the other account.
Oh, okay.
So the reason that they're doing that is because they don't allow like gil sellers, currency sellers, or building up accounts and selling them. That's against the Squeenix rules. So there's like specifically like legal shit around that. So in order to run a private server like within Squeenix legalese, that's how it go.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate it. They're nicer about this than like Nintendo. So
yes, no, they are very they're very easy to work with, I think, on a lot of stuff like this. So it's been not really they're pretty open with a lot of their properties once they like stop it. They're like, I mean, now it is still active on the Japanese servers, but like you can't really go on the Japanese servers.
Here's a how do I put this question? When I mentioned Nintendo now, I forgot that I mean Zelda: The Tears of the Kingdom came out yesterday at 11 to raucous applause. And I'm wondering whether one of us should play it for the benefit of the podcast. If you're listening and you would like us to play, one of us, probably me, to play the new Zelda, let us know. That's I think we're UN Fridays on Twitter, or you can find me at ANS.
That would be Aaron playing it.
That would be probably me playing it. But I do
know it's supposed to be a direct sequel of Breath of the Wild.
It is a direct sequel, yes. Like literally after the events of Breath of the Wild is Tears of the Kingdom. But I do not want to play Breath of the Wild, as these are massive, massive games that give you no leash, and I might be too old for that. So I am.
I think it's just not your style of game. I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's just not your style.
You're not wrong. And I'm trying to think, like, I haven't visited an open world game like that since Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I actually enjoyed that, but I don't always, and I don't usually actually is a better word. So, and I'm willing to give it a go because, like I said, it just, I haven't played I think I played Link to the Past on that was the last Zelda game I played. And I'm wondering whether I should return to it just to chronicle the returning to it, because it's one of the few things that I don't ever care about at all. Like even things that I don't play, I pay attention to. I just don't buy them. But it's Legend of Zelda has been one of those things where it's like, I think since Wind Waker, I haven't been paying much mind to it. Like I just don't care. So I'm like, maybe that would be a brand new game. You think about it, how many games like about inherently from having played so many games that you passively understand what you're playing about 95% of the time. You know what I mean? There's no game I could put in front of you and you'll be like, oh, wow. Even if it's something you weren't expecting, because we've kind of been playing games that long. So apparently this immersive sim open world Zelda might be something that hovers in that 5%. It's a thought.
I don't know. I'm still of the mindset to where like if you're not interested in it and you don't want to play it, then you shouldn't play it. Like there's still like other games going on out there, and And like I also like we don't have to play the games that are like the big popular games right now. Like it's just not a thing you have to do.
No,
Um
it is a
and
it's a joint venture. I'm not beating down the door to play Tears of the Kingdom, but I do understand that it might be worth it to give it a spin with the proper support, if that makes sense. Just to give it a
yeah.
spin.
Yeah, no.
So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like I have zero interest in it. Like I'm hyped for everybody else who wants to play it, but I'm actually like taking this as a nice break, as a lull between games. I'm almost beaten. I'm very close to finishing Octopath 2. I've slowed my roll on it a little bit because so like the game is so good that one it's like easily game of the year. Like there's nobody who can convince me that there's a better game. Like it's just not. It is. I haven't finished it. It's all the way in my top favorites. I was talking with another friend of mine, and he has a lot of similar taste in games that I do, and like he's like, no, easily this is like one of his top. This is like his top favorite game. Like it beat Chrono Trigger for him.
ooh.
Yeah, it's very good, and he was waffling on it. And then he finished like the epilogue, and he's like, it's over. He's like, he hasn't done the secret boss yet, but like he's like, it's over. It's like this is the best game. And so I'm like, I'm sitting here like I don't want the game to end.
Oh, I understand that.
So like I'm so attached to the game that I don't want the game to end. And like it's such a long game that I know I'm not gonna play it over again, like not for a while.
Right.
And also I'm going to work towards the secret boss.
Right.
So I'm just kind of like running around like la 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 la, avoiding finishing the game.
It's like your character is ready for side quests on a hair trigger. Like you just poking you. Hey guys, what's going on in here? Anybody need anything?
I'm literally going around and finishing all of the side quests.
Hey guys, so notice you're a little low on lettuce. You need some lettuce? I can get you some lettuce. Hold on, I got you.
I was just like, oh look, it's an area I haven't been before. I'm just let's mosey on in. Oh look, it's a secret dragon lair.
Oh wow, do you guys have a problem with this dragon? Do you guys need anything from this dragon? I'm just gonna go wander around here a little bit. If you need like any eggs or jewels, precious ore, anything like that, just let me know. I got all of you. Just lay it on me. Just text me at this number.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, like there's literally a button. There's literally a little icon on the map that says like further stories, and I know that's the next chapter.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm just like, but I'm gonna start. So what I'm gonna do is with my free time around assignments tonight, because today is Friday, the 12th. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to work on my homework. I destroyed my brain on homework yesterday, so I'm gonna go easy on it. I'm gonna do my homework, and after my homework's done, I'm gonna continue doing the side quests and running around and trying to get some extra levels on my characters. And then I'm gonna stream tomorrow morning, and I'm going to start the next chapter tomorrow morning and cry as I get closer to ending.
Oh, you're going back to streaming? Yes, we all get to watch you.
I mean, the only reason I took a break off was because I've been so sick. I just like I couldn't even get out of bed for a few days.
Oh, I understand. It's hard. It's hard.
And then I had a doctor's appointment that was wild. I was like, I feel so bad because like I want to stream consistently, and I'm trying to find ways to stream like more consistently, and like I enjoy it and I like it when people come and watch, but it's just so hard to be consistent when it's just like I don't know how I'm gonna be today. Like I don't know. And it's like a lot of people want to compare it to like spoons, like, oh, you don't have the spoons, and I'm like, that's not what's happening here. This is not spoon theory. Spoon theory actually doesn't apply here. This is much more complicated. And there's no way and at times there's no way to predict. So like I people are wanting to make plans with me, and I want to make plans with them, and it's just like I genuinely just don't know. So like people be like, "Oh, hey, so let's do this," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a 50-50.
Right.
Please continue to invite me, but it's a 50-50."
Yeah. Well, what you get done is impressive in its own right, and I think we have the core group of people who understand the dynamic nature of your production schedule.
But listen, I also want to make money.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's not
is interfering with my ability to make coin.
Yes, you would need. What might actually work is how do I put it? A multi-person brand. Like if I also streamed, like other people streamed, and it was more so you were not under the gun. So there was like streamer house. I think streamer house is like a house in Florida where they stream all night. It's not one person. It's like 5 or 6 people on a shift every day. And I think having multiple people stream for, I guess, Unreasonable Fridays would probably be the play to take the pressure off of just you so there are not as many dead spots. I'm quietly building a proper video setup in this office.
The only issue is I already have like my own followers and stuff that have been built up. So it's like trying to merge with other people is always a thing.
Oh no, it's not random people. It would be carefully curated. Like this is not a plan that we would be able to launch like tomorrow or even recently, but it's just an idea to take the pressure off of you so that as part of a larger, not even like a big group, just knowing that there is a possibility that, that you're not going to disappear from existence when you don't have it. So just a way to kind of keep your name in circulation, even if you're not necessarily at the top of everyone's mind. You're then somewhere in the middle, as opposed to just not being there and then trying to step back in, because that's frustrating. Like you said, fucks with your money, which you would be able to make if you could be consistent, but you're not medically capable of doing so. It's frustrating, which is already frustrating on top of being frustrated. So
yeah, the algorithms are slated specifically for consistency.
Right.
And also people like tune in for consistency. So if you have a schedule and you adhere to your schedule, they always tune in in that specific time.
Right.
But I can't do it. Like I try to do it and it's just like I don't make it and then I feel bad. So I'm like, well, instead of just feeling bad, I'll just do what I can when I can. And just leave it at that. But it is unfortunate. It's just not very disability friendly, which sucks because a lot of this stuff is how a lot of people with disabilities are able to earn extra income.
Right.
But like if you have like, the kind of disability where like you can't kind of do that makes it more difficult. And this would all much be easier if I like TikTok.
Yeah.
I know. Here's my H card. It's not actually an age thing. I just prefer text form. Text form is so much easier for me.
Videos are not your friend, just as a brand. Bacon does not watch videos. I think they have to be super targeted. Like someone has to specifically tell you that you need to watch this short video specifically, and then have the cachet for you to be able to actually watch it because they ask you to watch it, and it has to be short and to the point.
I've got 2 people that I work very hard to watch videos that they send me, and I have let both of them know that I don't watch videos, and I will click on about one out of 3 that they send me. And one of them's just like, oh yeah, I already knew, because sometimes you hit that laugh react button way faster than you could possibly watch that video. And I'm like, the heading was funny.
Listen, it smelled funny, and I love a funny smell. You know what I mean? Like
I'm like, the vibe it gave off was funny.
It made me. I looked at the thumbnail and I smiled, and that's worth a lot.
And like the laugh react was real. I laughed at that thumbnail. Like I saw that and I was like, this is gonna be some nonsense. So I feel okay laugh reacting. And then like I posted this literally a half a second ago. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. It looked funny without me opening it. But I do try. I do try. And I know I've been saying that I'm gonna be like watching the animes, but like I've got 2 animes now. I've got the Crunchyroll account. I have figured out how to log back into my Crunchyroll account. So like we're there. We're getting there. Like we are infinitely closer than we were 3 years ago.
What did we say we were gonna watch? Nier Automata. That's what we were gonna watch. We were gonna watch as a family Nier Automata.
I thought we talked about that, but I'm on Blue Lock and Gundam.
Oh no, I was watching Blue Lock with Erica. It's funny because Blue Lock being the anti-sports anime is disrupting the hell out of Erica. Like we watched a few of them, and the teamwork and healthy masculine male model system that they deploy is phenomenal and amazing and cute and fantastic. And Blue Lock is not doing it's marvelous, but it's not. But it is, but it's not. And it's so I love it to death, but it's disrupting. I am so hyped to watch it. My goal is to watch it this weekend while I'm working on it. Oh, you absolutely should. It's
I'm going to check back in with me next week. I will have watched more than one episode. I can't tell you how many more, but I will have watched more than one.
I didn't realize that was where someone had taken that idea from. I remember someone was online and pitching the idea of an anime where they try to find the next Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a bit of a madman, a genuinely nice fellow a genuinely nice fellow at the end of his career, and he unfortunately he's not here. And I was like, and they were talking about the idea of them trying to find the next Kobe Bryant for the sake of basketball balance. And I was like, that's an insane and interesting idea. And then I was like, oh, that's from Blue Lock. Oh, you took that idea from Blue Lock. Also, I need someone who watches soccer, because there's got to be some commentary about the idea that Japan is so desperate to win a World Cup that they are kidnapping teenage boys who are good at soccer, trying to forge one out of just straight up trauma. So I'm just like, there's commentary on soccer and Japan that I am missing, because I know very little about Japan and very little about soccer. The anime itself is good, but I feel it. I can taste it.
It is entirely the commentary on his ideas on the state of soccer in Japan, and that is the funniest shit in the world to me. Normally I don't care about shonens. I don't care. I only care about sports anime to a point. But this, I am absolutely sucker. I'm a huge sucker for anti-animes.
Yes.
So where you take the genre and you turn it on its head. I am a huge sucker for that. That is my weakness. And especially if it's good, like, bitch, count me in. I just like I said, I just gotta inching my way. It's been months. I know I've been saying it's months. Like this is like people who say they're thinking about coming back to Destiny level, but like it's back in my, like I said, Crunchyroll is and Netflix are both back into my favorites on my bar. Like when we are in, it's gonna happen like this week. And then of course all the Gundam commentary. Like I'm a fucking sucker for Gundam. Like I can't.
I think we would need to bring in another Gundam specialist, as I know zero about it. We have
I mean, there's literally 4 of us that are bullshitting about it in the UNF Discord.
Are these all mic capable people? Like I've
It's
not been.
It's me, Jarrett, Rousseau, and Justin.
Oh, so then we just have you guys on a show and just kind of she can just put you guys in a bottle and shake it and then record.
Like Jarrett is like the Gundam.
I understand. Yes, I've watched him. I've watched him stream various Gundam, literally anything and everything. Yes. Yes.
And like Justin is also Team Gundam. We are here for these war crimes, these children committing war crimes.
All right. Notes taken and made. All right, cool. We can do that.
There's like a whole bunch of Gundam nerds. It's funny because there's like there's this whole joke about like trans girls and Gundams, and I'm like, I'm not a trans girl. I've always been into Gundam. I was just like, take that, you stereotype.
Stick it to the man.
I'm not a trans man either. Fight me. By the way, this is your reminder, everybody who's listening. If you have medications, please get your medications refilled. Just in general. You probably forgot your prescription. Go get either message your doctor, call the pharmacy, do whatever you do, check on your prescriptions. I know half of you is ADHD or autistic and ADHD. Do the thing.
This makes sense as we
I did mine today. But I did mine a day early. I have to wait till tomorrow for my insurance to cover my amitriptyline because they only do it a week early.
Are you wrestling with supply shortages?
On my needles I am, and on my testosterone, that's been a fucking pain in the ass. And then my pharmacy, which is local, got bought out by a large national pharmacy chain, and has been a nightmare to deal with ever since. Like, there's an entire online system that I'd been using to like get my medication. If I ask for my prescription refill through the website, the pharmacy doesn't get it. It doesn't go through the pharmacy. And so I have to call up the pharmacy and be like, what's going on? So I finally was just like, what's the best way to renew my prescriptions? And they're like, you should just call. And I'm like, cool, I will call from now on. I hate making phone calls, but I will fucking do it. Because I do not want to wait for 2 weeks later and be like, where's my prescription, and not get a phone call.
You're right.
Check on your meds. There's also like supply shortages across the board for like various medications for a variety of reasons that are bullshit and not bullshit. Because despite what everybody thinks, I'm going to say it again, it sound like a broken record, the global supply chain is still fucked.
Everything's
so
fine.
Fucked.
Everything's fine.
Production is so fucked that child labor is on the rise. Not like child labor wasn't child and slave labor, and I'm not being facetious, wasn't like already happening in much higher quantities than people thought of.
Right.
Even though, like, you know, at literal slave and child labor and undocumented child labor, like complete, there's child labor on the books now and off the books, all over the place. They're like, we don't have bodies, bring in your kids and we'll work them kids. Or not even your kids, any kids.
Yeah, no, we're about to get on a very slippery slope. I hope that we get in front of this as a nation, but all signs point to not.
I mean, they're trying to do more. They're trying to drop the child labor age again to make it legal. I was just like, oh man, we're going back in time so fast.
As well, you know, we can't pay the existing adults, and we need to deal with people who want less. I mean, this is how we govern who to marry, or how we do or don't.
I mean, also, like, be real, we just don't even have the bodies. Like,
Um,
I mean, not like we have like the young bodies either, but we don't have the adult bodies, I guess.
we could, but we'd need to pay for the adult. See, this is the problem was when in our darkest hour, everyone who would pay us was like, we don't care whether you live or die. And they forgot the mic was on when they said that. And we all heard them. So there are a lot of us who are not going to respond to calls to work the way we would have before they announced to everyone they don't care whether we live or die. And now they're having trouble. Like, they could do right by more people and get more people.
Well, we're also in like a mass disabling effect. And,
absolutely.
And guess what happens when you are too disabled to work? You are effectively out of the workforce, to the point where when they're talking about the unemployment rates, people who are out of the workforce are not part of the unemployment rates, like percentages.
Right, you don't even get factored in. Oh yeah, you do not get factored in. I forgot about that. Yes.
You don't get factored in. You are only factored in if you are unemployed but actively looking for work. If you are not actively looking for work, you are not counted as part of the workforce.
So all these people deeply affected by long COVID are phased out of all data collection regarding the topic of employment in the United States.
Correct.
Sounds about right. I forgot. I remember reading this and I had forgotten about it because the number of people affected by COVID is so massive that this system of ignoring their existence is going to prove unwieldy very quickly and blow up in our faces spectacularly.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to mention because it's a common forgotten about thing. Commonly forgotten about. Here I am bringing up the depressing facts.
Oh, it's not depressing facts. It's good to know. One thing I realize is humans tend to forget why things happen. If the thing that is happening is, I guess, cataclysmic enough, we will forget why it happened. We will just be so shocked by the existence of the thing that happened, that the cause will get lost amongst the waves of just chaos and confusion. So it's always good that someone actually brings up why a thing happened at all.
Yeah, it's almost never talked about in terms of disability. It does get talked about in terms of like youth. Like, so when they're like youth are entering the workforce later than before, like that's part of what they're talking about. Like, because you don't if you're just going to school full time or you're just at home and you're not working, like, as like in your late teens, early 20s, like you're not part of the workforce, so and you don't count for unemployment either, because you're not actively looking. But like women, women leave the workforce to go like have children and like take care of the kids. So it's usually talked about as like in terms of like women leaving the workforce and coming back into the workforce. But you also can't come back to the workforce if you have to watch your kids because there's no childcare. And then COVID complicated that. So there's a lot of interesting things. And like they do collect data on people who are out of the workforce, etc. But it's not at the same rates as unemployment.
And it doesn't factor in what we talk about, and it's good because we should be talking about the conditions of all Americans if we're talking about the workforce. The workforce is every American, and apparently even the kids. So we need to talk about the conditions of all of them, and that's a big part of it. So it is important to keep in mind at all times. So there is that.
Yeah, I'm in the meantime, I'm gonna play, after I'm done with Octopath 2, I'm gonna play Cozy Grove.
Fair warning, Cozy Grove is a very dark cozy game.
Yes, I'm aware.
My favorite thing about cozy games is I think that they're the best medium to tell a dark story. Now that I've really sat down with several of them by playing them or just by living with Erica. I think a lot of like adult, like serious narrative are undermined by the mechanical need to have you keep playing a video game that undermines it. So like I was looking at the Last of Us show, and the Last of Us show communicates the message of the story better because you're not just killing niggas willy-nilly. So it makes the fragility of the characters and the circumstances stick out more, and it makes the impact of the story hit harder. And in the game, you lose it because Joel is a fucking tank. And so is Ellie in the second one. And so is Abby. All of these people kill lots of fucking people. So a lot of the emotional impact of the frailty of being the last chunk of humans on Earth, of trying to find your way when there is no hope, of finding humanity, what gives you a reason to live, is lost. Because between crying fits, you killed 14 niggas in a coffee shop. And I understand I need to play a video game, so I'm not begrudging anyone for this. But that need to have a game in between the story bits undermines the importance of some of these very impactful stories. And cozy games, because you spend like to hear the story of like the ghost of a military vet that feels guilty that he got all his men killed is extra impactful when you have to spend 20 minutes collecting twigs and stones in silence afterwards. Like you just have to go about your business. Like you have to make a quiche and collect some twigs and feed your cat in general silence after he told you that he cannot pass on to the next life because he thinks he got his men killed. And you're like, oh, silence. 6 out of 14 twigs. Here I go. I'll be back tomorrow. Nice talking to you, Mr. Johnson. And that impact is so the silence and the meditative gameplay of like cozy games lets those narrative beats sit so neatly and they marinate so well. And in Cozy Grove, characters will like say something like that and think about it in real time. So like they won't say anything for like days because they'll say some real shit and catch themselves and then just not talk. They'll just then have nothing for you. Like just like, hey, like real life. And I think that medium is the best for it. Like, you ever hear of that game, The Dredge?
No.
It's a fishing game.
Ooh, fishing.
It's a fishing game, right? You control a boat. You control a fisherman on a boat. It's also about the uncovery of an eldritch horror. So they tell you you can fish. Do not fish after sundown. Do not.
I'm gonna fish after sundown.
Do not. You gotta fish after sundown. It's fucking crazy. Your character is fishing, and one of the most horrible things is when you start to discover the fish that are affected by the monster, by the eldritch horror living underneath the lake. And every once in a while, you'll pull up a fish, and it'll be a normal fish, and there'll be a normal fish, and all of a sudden, it'll be a demon fish. And your character will act like it's normal and be like, oh, 6 eyes. Fins are a little tough. Oh, well. And then you'll see how much you can get for it. And some of the townspeople don't want it because they don't want to talk about the demon fish. And it's like, the fact is there's something living under the lake. Everyone's trying to act like it's fine. Your character's trying to act like it's fine. He's quietly doing a thing. And everyone's reaction in this really well done fishing game, really good fishing game, there is such dark undertones of a town that does not want to talk about what is underneath the lake and just will actively turn away from it while your character is more intrigued by it. And some people in the town are interested in it and some of them aren't. Who's outcast? And these stories are they're so much better because you spend 20 minutes of silence out on the lake by yourself afterwards. Like the person that will buy the demon fish looks like a person that would buy a demon fish sight unseen without saying a word to you and give you money and walk away. And then you got to think about that for 20 minutes while you're on the lake, just 1 in the afternoon, just boat just floating, just silence, little A little mood music, somebody on a little piano, single person on the piano a little bit. A little low.
Not a person on the piano.
Right, a little person on the piano. It just came to mind. We would like to see you play Cozy Grove. I'd like your reaction to Cozy Grove. And yeah, it was a thought that come to mind. Destiny is also guilty of this. Every character they have they introduce the concept of the neutral factions, while then having you kill all of those factions for sport.
No such thing.
They tried very hard, and now as the Light and Dark saga ends, there are neutral factions. Like the Tower is filled with Elixni, the Tower is filled with Cabal, the Woken are here, like the Traveler's not here, but everyone else is coming together anime style to wrap this up. As a result, though, Elixni is apparently the Elixni is the term. The Fallen is a derogatory term that is still being used for some of them, but not all of them. And again, that's like Hell's Big Niggers and black people energy. And I'm like, again, it's because you're caught in the game where we have to shoot all the things. I don't blame you, but I understand how it looks. We've spent a year understanding the motivations and culture of the Elixni in relation to other Elixni. However, this bounty on my phone says I have to kill 15 Fallen. Again, just letting you know, this is what's on my phone. I'm going to go back to work. Just calling it out. That's all.
Just might want to, you might want to think about it. That, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
To think about things.
Right. They've done it for the Cabal, but not so much for the Elixni. So the Cabal have three factions. There is Callus's faction of Clone Cabal. There is his daughter's faction of neutral Cabal that work with the Vanguard and the Guardians. And then there are
so they just out here headbutting people for money.
Right. And then there is I mean,
I love the Cabal.
Right. And then there are the faction of Red Legions there is a faction of Red Legion Cabal that are from the original bit of the game. And like there is a decree like Kaido, Callus's daughter, is like the current queen of the Cabal, and she's like full stop. If you are drawing a gun on a Guardian, you are officially not Cabal, and whatever the fuck happens to you is what happened to you. Full stop. If you are a traitor, you will be executed as a traitor. If not by us, then by whatever Guardian you decided to shoot at. There. We said it.
I mean, that gives good narrative reason for fighting random Cabal.
Right. They have not done that so much with the Elixni. The Elixni are still kind of scavengers, and it became there was a narrative beat that revealed that these skinny Elixni, the dregs, are like malnourished, like they just don't get enough like nutrients from.
Oh baby.
Right. So
they're gonna have to figure out something, because they're either gonna have to like swap them out with another enemy, or like you're gonna have to do something, buddy.
Right. Because
this doesn't work
at some point or the other. And again, I understand you have an entrenched game and you're writing a developing, growing story for a growing game. But now, not only are we calling Elixni, still using the derogatory racist term to describe Elixni, but I'm also putting a bullet through the ones with calcium deficiencies. You're gonna again, your narrative is bumping up against the need for a video game. It happens. It's rough though. So
they're gonna have to swap out them character models.
The collisions get rough. It's real. Sometimes the collisions, they get a little rough. People take tumbles. People they bruise up because the combination of your story and your gameplay, they collide. People get flipped over. They gotta call the ambulance. People have to trade insurance information. It's real rough.
Trading insurance.
They do. So I noticed that in playing cozy games, the narratives sit front and center, and in fact are able to exist in that game, in that type of game, better than most genres of games I've ever played.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot where that started.
Oh, the narratively dense cozy game.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that the narratively the dark narratives work better in some cozy games because of the nature of the cozy game. Like it's not, the gameplay is not bumping up against the narrative in the same way, because the objectives are completely different.
Right.
So it was I forgot that's where we had started. So I was just vibing with a conversation like we usually do. Like, well, like, oh wait, no, there actually was like a point that we're coming full circle across. Hello, I'm here.
If
The brain
you
fog kicked in.
if you and listen, I don't if you can remember, because cozy games are new to me. So if you can recall, as a person who's always played them, if you can recall when cozy games started to turn the corner and throw the narratives in there, you let me know. Like, you don't have to answer and recall it immediately. That's perfectly fine.
I think the only ones that really do are like because some of the farming sim games have combat.
Right.
So sometimes in those games it does, but
Yeah.
it also kind of works. Like there's also kind of built-in quirkiness with those games.
Uh,
And so like it works with the built-in quirkiness,
mm.
if that makes sense.
Oh, it does.
Um like in one of the games, like finding out one of the enemies that I fight regularly is just a race that just regularly makes they just make bad decisions. Like not as a race, like individually they make bad decisions. So like okay, this creature is attacking me, but like they could just be attacking me because they want to prove their worth to their back home to the folks back home. Be like, well, if I win against this human, I can be like, look, I defeated a human, rah rah rah. And so there's like that was in Harvestella. Harvestella was fucking hilarious. The micro narratives in Harvestella actually made some of the combat really funny because like I knew whenever I ran into a Sahagin, the Sahagin just have like this completely bonkers worldview, and
Right.
I'm like, you know what? Okay, like one Sahagin is sitting in like a pool by your house, and he's just like, you need to bring me all of these rare fish. And I'm like, okay, why? And he's just like, okay, so if you bring me all of these rare fish, I can go back and I can be king of my people. I'll
Hmm.
give you something. He's like, I'll give you something for each fish you get me. So go get me the fish. And I'm like, sure. But then he never leaves. Like I've completed all the fish turn-ins and he just doesn't leave, which might for that game seem like a loose thread, but like if you do a lot of the side quests that like any of the side quests that involve the Sahagin, like no, it actually makes sense.
Huh.
And like there's the one on the beach not attacking anybody who decided to pick a fight with some kids and like by pick a fight just like yell at each other. So like I mean just like they have strange worldviews and it's like okay, so I'm being attacked. Well, they have strange worldviews. It's fine. It just be like this sometimes. I understand. Like we're just out here all doing our best.
Yeah, I love that. I'm not gonna lie. I do enjoy that when the story kind of just helps to just help me frame some of these asses I'm kicking. Like, there's no reason why all these people are running up on me, but if there is a reason, I love the thought that goes into it. Um,
Yeah, like in Rune Factory, like all of the non humanoid esque enemies. Well, no, that's not true. Uh, I think all the enemies except for the goblins, every single one of them you can tame and take back to their farm to your farm, and they like drop loot every day or every 2 days. Like if you capture like a cow monster, because you know cow monsters are out vibing, they're like, "What the frick are you doing on my farm out here? I'm gonna like bull rush you because I can." But like if you tame them, they give milk every day. Um, and you know, but like you can also have fairies, and like the fairies will drop like fairy dust. You can like there are these like enemy mushrooms, and the enemy mushrooms drop a couple different things I don't remember. So I was like, okay, well everything's out here for me to gain levels, do WWE moves on, and um uh like we're all just living our best life out here. We're just vibing. Like, it's okay. I understand. Like, you don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what I'm doing here, but we're all just out here vibing. And like the monsters in the dungeons all have like a narrative beat. And like the end boss, you can actually tame the end bosses too. Like they don't drop a thing every day, but like every day if you fight them, they drop an item that you can get off of them. But if you tame them, you can tame them and then you can take them into combat with you. So it's just like it's like, okay, it's monsters. And then of course, like there's the games like Monster Hunter, which it frames itself.
Right. You know what?
Why am I attacking this fucking asshole of a bird? Because I can.
Well, they always say that there is the what is it? The last Monster Hunter I played, there was a Monster Hunter World said there was like a tectonic shift caused by the appearance of elder monsters that was agitating the other monsters, which is why they were pushing inland, which is why you had to fight them, and they were so aggro. So yeah, which is fine once you see them.
Right, but the main purpose of it is like, there's the lore. The main purpose is you are a monster hunter. And your job is to hunt monsters.
Yeah. Originally,
it doesn't get deeper than that.
Originally, there was not much of a story there. Like they kind of started building that up, but originally, like way back in like PlayStation 2, I think when Monster Hunter debuted, they were just like, there are monsters here. You hunt them. Look, what?
I'm not to talk shit about our former selves.
Uh-huh.
We really didn't need much narrative.
We still don't. I appreciate them putting context to something like Monster Hunter, but it's like, I'm here to take my katana sword and fight a T-Rex. I appreciate that you've given this T-Rex reason to be here. I appreciate that there is an overarching ecosystem with lore. I love the thought that you've put into it, but understand, I loaded this up to take my katana and 1v1 this dinosaur. I just need to see who's better, my swordsmanship or this ancient reptile. That's it. I, again, deeply appreciate it, but not needed. But thank you anyway.
I'm here for giant weapons and fashion.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
And my matching cat to have fashion. But I'm not gonna. Okay, so like I'm saying this like as an RPG fan. Mm-hmm. Like I go back and I play some of these old RPGs, and like the reason some of the big names stand out is because they had a story. They had like a relatively cohesive story that made sense. Like I'm gonna talk shit about one of my favorite series, and I'm saying this, it is still one of my favorite series. I played Breath of Fire. I've played all of the Breath of Fires. That is some weak ass narrative. It is put you to sleep levels of boring. Like there is there good story in there. Yes. It should take much less time than it does to get there. It is and I say that for all of them. Now you can argue with me. I want you to go back and play them.
Again,
and try to stay awake.
I always thought the stories were a little boring. There was one where there was the best story. There was a Breath of Fire game where you were underground. I think it was the 4.
Yeah.
4 you had to keep playing and dying and starting over, which is a shame because it had the most interesting premise, which was you being trapped underground and fighting your way up. But you had to keep fighting until you died and grinding up and up over and over again, that I never got a chance because I didn't like the system. Because for once I wanted the story to continue, and they had this system where you just would hit a level ceiling and have to start over with your stuff and then re-level and then get more stuff and then re-level. And it had big roguelite energy, and I didn't like it, but that was the only Breath of Fire where I was like, and I didn't see the rest of the story. It just, the original premise of the story, which is me wanting to get to the surface, was fascinating. And the rest of them are a little drab, but again, I don't want to start a fist fight with Breath of Fire fans. That's all you.
I'm a Breath of Fire fan. I'm a huge Breath of Fire fan. I would still play Breath of Fire games.
I will allow you to fist fight amongst your your tribe, then
I'm saying this out of love.
Listen, that's
like listen, there are a lot of these old games that honestly I think would be great if they got remade, because I'm full of remake fatigue right now. Like I 100% want new stories, but some of these games lack so much story that you can get real creative.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
There's so much gaps in the narrative that there is room to get really creative and recreate some of these games. What's another one? Legend of Dragoon. I love Legend of Dragoon. The characters need a lot of work in Legend of Dragoon. I just, buddy. Who buddy. Legend of Dragoon needs a lot of work. There's a whole section of RPGs where it's just like we only have so much space for the game. So we can either do good narrative or we can do graphics, but we don't have room for both. Like the text, the text is actively adding to the size of the game. So we need to cut the text because the game is too big because there's too much text. And you think I'm joking? I'm not joking.
Oh, I understand.
There are some games they literally had to cut text for to make space for the game.
In an old coworker was he was a huge fan of the Trails series, like Trails of Cold Steel, Trails of something. And he would talk about how it was so lore heavy and so text heavy that it took years for them to localize it because every character said multiple things the more you pressed A on them. So many characters said so much shit that the games took years to localize and bring out.
Yeah.
Because it actually affected the size of the original games because there was so much text in them. So I totally understand. It's actually it's fascinating. It is, honestly.
It's the funniest shit to me about some of these Super Nintendo and PS1 games. There's literally too much text. Remember when you could fill up computers with Microsoft Word documents? You had to go through and delete your documents because there wasn't enough space.
Bruh,
I mean, them cartridges could not hold that much.
That's why when people they downplay because pixel art is common and people downplay that shit. I'm like, you understand this game would be 21 cartridges. This 4-hour game would be 21 cartridges if they brought it. Like, it's not old school graphics. It's pixel art.
Oh my god, could you imagine Octopath on cartridge?
It would be 100.
I mean, it's technically on a cartridge, but these cartridges hold silly amounts.
It would be my guess it would have to be over 100 cartridges, maybe about 200 some odd cartridges for the length of game that it is, and you would just be swapping them out every 25 minutes. Like, you'd be playing for like an hour and then you'd have to put in another card, insert cartridge 76. Yes.
Each character story, like each character chapter would be a new card.
It would be like getting in it. It'd be like a row.
Get like 2 chapters.
It'd be like the encyclopedia collection. You have like 1 through 26 across your just 4 bookshelves of Octopath Traveler cartridges.
Remember those old computer games where like they came in like booklets because it was in like 12 CDs?
Yes.
I was just imagining that, but like instead of it like a billfold of like cartridges, like the cascading just fall down all these cartridges.
Oh my god.
Connected to each other.
Oh my god. Oh, you know what story came to mind since we're talking about this? You know what action game wove the action perfectly with its own story? It's a dark horse. Max Payne 3. The entire story was about a gringo who cannot stop getting into gunfights and winning them, to the point where you started the game in New Jersey, but you like shot the mayor's son because he rolled up on you with his goons and thought that you were washed up, and when you were in fact Max Payne, so you killed all of them. So they were like, all right, we need to get you out of here because the mayor's like, you've done a lot, but You also killed my boy, so we're going to get you out of here. They got you a job doing security in Brazil, and then you protected the person, but then you shot so many folks that you drew the ire of the local like gangs, and then you killed so many of the gangs that because of their connection with the corrupt police force, the police came, and then you killed so many of the police, and then at some point they were like, we can't get this gringo out of fucking South America. We need someone. So they sent someone to get you out via plane while it was escalating around you, because you were such a main character that you cannot stop. Like, actively, they wanted the violence to stop. They started it, but they did not realize that this was going to escalate to this video game levels of violence. And it wasn't like they had infinite people. They were like, we need this to stop. We need to get you out of the country. So here's the deal, gringo. We will get you the fuck out of here so you never come back. Like, we get it. We get it. Please. And I was like, there's no story about redemption. There's no, like, every character towards the, like, in the game recognizes that you've killed people, and then towards the end that you were killing far too many people for this to be a sustainable system. You are destroying the ecosystem and affecting our bio, Mr. Payne. You need to get out of here. Yes.
That game was fucking nonsense.
It was absolute fucking nonsense, but it was one of my favorite stories because they were not, because the worst thing is you play a game and they act like you haven't killed everybody. No. Max Payne, the entire story hinges on the fact that you kill everybody, and they needed to stop. At first, it's like, they're like, oh, just get them. And it's not like this, just that. Once it gets to that, it's just one man part. People start getting nervous. like people in power start to get legit.
No.
Like, what the fuck is happening?
Was it not like people would like start like backing up or running away?
Yes, no, people start, so parts of town start vacating, you fight your way to the airport, the military starts coming, and then they stop coming, and then they're like, just leave. Just get out. We get,
like, can you just
fuck. Like,
just go, please.
Right, then it resolves itself as, and everyone's just like, fuck. And then you get out, and then that's literally the last we ever hear about Max Payne, but it's one of my favorite stories. Because it literally hinges on how ridiculous this video game's premise is in the real world. They rooted the video game premise of shooting a bunch of gunmen in the real world. And as you would imagine, no one likes that shit after the first 5 minutes. After about day 4 of you killing all these people, someone's like, can you please get this gringo the fuck out of here? Phenomenal.
Like, we would appreciate it. We would really strongly appreciate it if you just did not.
We do not have the ecosystem for sustained gunfights across an actual city on the globe. No city has the sustained infrastructure for one dude having a gunfight for 56 hours. None of them. And
we ain't got it.
They ain't. We can't get you out of here. So yes. But yes, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I think
we had planned topics, we had interjected topics, we had organic topics, we had free trade, open range target topics.
We did organically grass fed topics.
Free range, cage free.
All right, college educated topics, top of their class topics, valedictorian topics.
Topics that are in academic journals, backed by academic journals,
right?
Scientific journals.
We had all the journals. We had it all today, and I appreciate you for that.
Hot topics.
Really?
I'm tired. I'm just saying shit.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.